Hey folks, hope you're all doing well and happy holidays, and welcome to episode 21 of Recommend an Album to Review. Quickly, how the show works is you folks are kind enough in the comments to recommend an album, which I listen to, and then the following week, usually Thursday, 6 o'clock, I'll post a review of the record. So the criteria for the record that you recommend is something that I haven't already done a show on, and a regular full-length album, a studio album, and basically that's it. So for this week, I got an album that was suggested to me by a band that I never heard of, so an album I'd never heard of. The band is called Unto Others, and the album is called Strength. So listening to this record, I was reminded very much of a lot of the bands that I really enjoyed back in the, I guess, early to mid 80s. I liked a lot of goth back then, early Cult, Susie and the Banshees, The Cure, Echo and the Bunnymen. But the band that this really reminded me a lot of, and if you like this type of music, a band that I would highly recommend is a band called The Mission, and I think they call themselves The Mission UK. The only difference is with this band is it's basically the same type of blueprint, but with some heavy guitar and some, double bass and heavier drums in the background. But basically, if you go back and you listen to a band called The Mission UK, which I would highly recommend if you like sort of this type of material, go back and listen to that band. It's like basically you take The Mission and you add some heavy drums and some heavy guitar. So it's like you've got that clean chorusy kind of guitar outlining the melody line over top, and then you've got, with this band, you've got the heavy guitar in the background. So it's almost like an updated version. Now, I was really, really surprised that these guys were not British, because they sound like a British band. They sound like a band, because all the bands I mentioned are British bands. They sound like a band from that era, but they're actually from Portland, Oregon. So very surprising. I mean, the singer too. He sounds like a British guy. Very clean voice. Very reminiscent of bands that that genre of that type of singing back in that time. A lot of dark, themes in terms of their lyrics and such, but kind of a real throwback. This took me right back to like early 80s. So the current lineup of the band, you've got Brandon Hill on the bass, Colin Vranizin on the drums, Gabriel Franco, vocals and guitar, and Sebastian Silva on guitar. So sort of as a whole, I mentioned those bands earlier. This sounds a lot like that. It's in that style. So the songs, there's a lot of mid-tempo stuff going on here. There's a couple of up-tempo things to kind of break it up a little bit. There's some nice guitar. There's not a lot of crazy guitar solos. There's like one song that is sort of like a heavy metal kind of guitar solo, but most of the solos and things are sort of follow along the lines, or just an expansion of the melody line that drives the song. So it's not a lot of crazy guitar playing going on here. But it's, if you like that type of music, I mentioned sort of that goth early 80s, you will really, really dig this band, because again, they've updated that sound a bit. So let's go through the tracks. All right, the opening track is called Heroin. Now this is probably the heaviest song on here. It's got some really nice crunchy guitar, and it's got, like a nice crunchy kind of metal-y solo to it. There's a video for it as well. A really nice opener, really strong, heavy opener for the album. Then you got Downtown, again with this sort of single note, chorusy kind of lines to it. Really catchy song. It's got a nice hook to it. Again, right out of that textbook. But really good track, Downtown for the second track. And then you got When God's Work Will Be Done, and there's a lot of like that sort of, you know, very reminiscent of that style again, where you sort of have like just the pulsing bass and then the chorusy guitar over top, over top of a bed, over top of the bass, and then over top of a bed on top of that of sort of that heavy crunchy guitar. Another good song. I mean, they're all good songs. If you like that style of music, you will dig this record. No Children Laughing is the next track. Again, a really dark, lyrically dark song, um, with that same vibe. I mean, I can't express enough. Like, it just sounds to me like a Mission record, with heavy guitar. And that's all. You know what? I mean, I'm going to say the same thing pretty much through every track here. So, um, they're good songs. The one thing I'll say is the tempo. If you're like with the ear fatigue thing, because I always go on about that. The tempos are quite similar. There's a couple of up tempo songs. You know what? I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm going to get to the stuff that sounds a little bit different, so I'm not just repeating myself. All right, then you got Destiny. That's a little more up tempo, and there's some keyboards going on there again, but very heavy goth again, vibe to it. Another good track. They're all good. There's really no dogs on this per se. They're all pretty good tracks. All right, Y is a little bit faster too, but the same type of formula again. A lot of double bass on this record too. I should mention. Yeah, it's an up tempo track, but again within that same kind of gothy context. You got Just a Matter of Time again. The sort of pounding bass, and then the chorusy guitars come in, and it gets the heavier guitars come in a little bit later. But yeah, that's another more of an up tempo tune. There's a couple of up tempo tunes that kind of break up that mid tempo that they do throughout most of this record. Then what's interesting is they do a cover of Hell is for Children, which is a Pat Benatar song. They do a really good job of it. And it's got some nice leads at the end. And if you like that song, and it's sort of a really good cover for them because it's sort of, right in their ballpark, so to speak. But Hell is for Children, unexpected, but a really nice cover. All right, then there's Instinct, which that came right out of 1984. Again, if you like this genre of music, another great track. And then they end it with the title cut, which is Strength, which is sort of along the same lines. So, I mean, there's not really a lot to say about this band in terms of they found their niche and that's what they do. And if you like that type of thing, that sort of gothy, chorusy guitar with some, sitting on a bed of heavier guitars, some clean vocals, and the guy sounds British. He sounds like he could have been the lead singer of Echo and the Bunnymen, back in the day. Just it's that kind of album. It's sort of an updated goth record from the early to mid '80s. Not a bad record. If you like that sort of thing, if you don't like that sort of thing, you will not like this record. If you like the goth stuff from the '80s, you'll definitely like this album. So if I was to rate this out of 5, I would probably give it a 3. And the only reason I would give it a 3 is because all the songs were sort of in that niche, but they were all very predictable. They all started to sound kind of samey from track to track. And that's kind of why I didn't spend a lot of time on individual tracks, because they all kind of, they all check the same boxes. So I can't really be more expansive on the track by track thing, but but I keep harkening back because when I first listened to this record, I'm like, what do these guys remind me of? And it's The Mission UK. If you like this type of music, if you like that type of music, you will dig this record. if you're not a goth guy, you probably will not like this record because there's a lot of goth. I can't believe these guys aren't British. So there you go. Out of 5, I would probably give this a 3 for that reason. So there you go. The band is called Unto Others, and the record is called Strength. Thank you so much for the person, the subscriber that recommended this to me. Yeah, so this is episode 21. Thanks so much for watching the channel. Hit the like, and please consider subscribing. I was going to do if you've made it this far, I was going to do a live stream on Wednesday of this week. That live stream is probably going to happen on Friday of this week. So Friday of the New Year's Eve weekend. So if you're around, join me. Check that out. It'll be a year-end review of all the happenings of the channel. And we'll catch you then. If not, we'll see you next week for the next recommended album to review. Take care, everybody. Cheers. Happy New Year if I don't see you.